So we turned yesterday to Daf Ayin Daled Amud Beis, and we're talking about the mitzvah of Kiddush Hashem b'farhesya, which means that for any mitzvah at all, even a mitzvah kala b'farhesya, like Arkasa de Misani, which has to do with the color of the shoelace, even for that you have to give up your life. And Rashi says that it's mitzvah kala because it's a yesh batzad Yehudis b'davar b'derech Yisrael lios tznuim. Fine. The kama b'farhesya, what constitutes farhesya for Kiddush Hashem? Omar of Yaakov, Omar of Yochanan, ein farhesya pchusa me'asora b'nei adam. So you need the presence of 10. Pshita Yisraelim be'inon. The Gemara says that in order to be considered farhesya, there's no doubt that you need 10 Jews. Tichsiv. What's the source for the number 10? It says v'nikdashti b'toch b'nei Yisrael. Okay, we'll see what b'toch b'nei Yisrael means, but it's definitely in the presence of Jews. Boy Rab Yirmiyah, Tisha Yisrael v'nochri echad ma'u. Can we consider it as farhesya if there are 9 Jews and 1 God? Very strange. He says in the footnote number Daled, Bira Sofik, Ushagmara Savra Khan, Shemashal Tzofar Hesetzor Asoru Misvara, Uminator Tzorch Rak B'nei Yisrael, V'lav Dafka Asora, Ulefichach Estapka, Ha'im L'tzorch HaPirsum, Shemakoro Misvara, Maspik Hashlama B'goyim. So the Gemara is assuming now, he says in the name of the Aruch LaNer, that the requirement of Asara for Farhesya is a Svara. Again, he's fascinating whether or not the requirement of Asara is a Svara. And if it's a Svara, then maybe we could be mashlim that minion of Asara with 1 God. And that creates the pirsum for Farhesya. Or do we say, no, there's a separate halacha that's derived from the Torah itself that requires Asara. And if it's Asara, it says B'nai Yisrael, then they have to all be Jewish. Toshma, the Tani Rav Yanai Achua de Rav Chia bar Abba, Asya toch toch. We have a Gzeir Shava comparing these 2 words, toch. Ksiv hacha, in the pasuk of Kiddush Hashem b'farhesya, it says v'nikdashti b'toch b'nei Yisrael. Ksiv hasam in Parshas Korah, Hashem says to Moshe, Ibadu mitocha eda azos. This is in the aftermath of Chet Hamaraglim. And once again, the Torah used the word mitoch. So we have Gzeir Shava, Mala Halon, just like in the case of Ibadu mitocha eda azos. Is Asara. Oh, I said it was a Chet Meraglim. No, this is not Shlach, this is Korach. So it's a Chet of Korach. So there were Asara Anoshim. Because Ada has to be a minimum of 10. And that we learn from the Meraglim. Is V'kula Yisrael. So the word mitoch in Eda Azos, referring to Chet of Korach, it's Kulo Yisrael. Is Afkan here too, to generate a Farhesia, Asar of a Kulo Yisrael, we need 10 Jews. So the Gemara asks for Esther Farhesia Havi. So Esther would have a relationship with Achashverosh. And what does it mean Farhesia? Rashi says, Nivaloli Oved Kochavim, Velo Mosra Nafsha L'Ktola. He expands on this and he says, Shekol Yehudei Shushan Yadu, it was public knowledge, Leches L'Sham, K'dei Liboil L'Achashverosh Shahaya Goy. So even though they weren't witnesses to her relationship with Achashverosh, but everybody knew that that's why he was taking her for a queen, and the knowledge itself makes it into Farhesia. Why didn't Esther give up her life rather than submit herself to having a relationship with a God? So we're going to see later that Tosa is going to raise a question. Why didn't the Gemara ask about Esther Gilia Rayas Havi if we assume that she was married to Mordechai? But maybe the Gemara here is operating with the assumption that she was not married to Mordechai. So therefore it comes under not Gilia Rayas, but under Shara Veros. And if it's Farhesia, then Yehorig Val Yavar, and she didn't give up her life. So we have two answers in the Gemara to this question. Amar Abaye, Esther Karka Olam Haisa. And Rav Amar La Noas Atzmo Shiny. So let's take Rava first, even though he's second in the Gemara, but it's a little simpler. Rava is saying that the idea for Hesia is when the guy is trying to get the Jew to violate his religion in public. Achashverosh was nothing of the sort. I mean, he didn't even know she was Jewish. So that's called Hanos Atzman Shiny. It means that Kiddush Hashem b'Farhesia is only in a case of Lavure al Das, where the guy is trying to force the Jew to violate the Torah as part of a program to persecute and to attack the Jewish religion. So what's Abaye? Abaye is saying that Ein ha'isha osa maisa be'ila. that when is there a din of Farhesia and Kiddush Hashem? That's only with a Maisa Avera. But she didn't do a Maisa Avera because she was Karka Olam and she did nothing. So he writes here in the name of Tosas, as footnote number test, that there's no Chil Hashem. Chil Hashem is when you actively choose to save your life at the expense of violating the Torah, in this case publicly. That's not what she did. There was no active action on her part to save her life by violating the Torah. So that's not called Chil Hashem. So he quotes here the Ramban in Milchamas Hashem in footnote number Ches, and he has a different take on Karka Olam. He says that in the case of Karka Olam, there's no choice of Avera versus Misa. Why? Because Biyada Onas, Livo Lasishal Korcha Af Lo Laseis Lamus. He could do the Avera against her will even without her dying. So Eina Dora Biyada. I mean, she doesn't have control over whether the Avera will take place or won't, whether the action will be implemented or not. It's going to be done on her. She's a physical object. So he says, Eina Dora Biyada, and therefore Eina Tzricha Limsar Nefesh. So I have here, I'll just show it to you, Kiddush Rabbeinu Chaim al Levi al Rambam. This was actually authored by Reb Chaim, as opposed to everything else that we have from Reb Chaim, which is just Masorah transmissions. And Reb Chaim is medayik in the Rambam that the Rambam seems to have rejected the principle of Karka Olam of Abaye. So the Rambam is in Perek Hey Milchus Yisodi HaTorah. We've seen it in the past. We'll see it again. Halacha Aleph. Sheyamod Nochri v'Anis es Yisrael laver al achas mikol mitzvos amuris b'Torah. O Yargenu Yavar v'Al Yehori. Mamedvar amur b'shar mitzvos chutz me'avodah zarah v'gila ra'is shvichas damim. Aval sholosh averes elu im yomer lo avar al achas me'en otei hareg yavar v'al yehareg v'al yavar. So it seems that the Rambam is saying that in all situations, if a person is being forced, coerced to Gilui Arayos, they have to give up their life. And that's okay, except for one thing. Why doesn't the Rambam mention anything about Karka Olam? He writes, Zeu shesosam Rambam dibarayos bechol gavni teharig vel tavor. From the fact that the Rambam didn't qualify this, And he didn't limit it in any way. It seems that it applies straight across the board in an absolute way, even in the case of Karka Olam. Why didn't the Rama mention this mitigating circumstance of Karka Olam? So he here summarizes Tosfos. Tosfos asks, why didn't the Gemara ask about Esther that it's Arayas, Gili Arayas? And Tosfos says, Imi Shum Arayos, Kulialma Svirule de Mahani Taima de Karka Olam. It was never an issue that certainly Karka Olam would be a mitigating circumstance of Gili Arayas. Le'inyan de lo machayve limsar atzma mishum arayas. So Tosfos says that it was beyond question that the Svar of Karka Olam would remove Gili Arayas. But for Hesia, that was an issue. And why is this so? Right? Where do we know that a woman or a man has to give up his life rather than violate Gili Arayas? We know it from the equation to Rotzeach. Rotzeach Gufa, Kima Chayve Limsar Atzman, immediately call him She'arik B'Yadayim. Aval Hecha Delo Ovid Maisa. What would be if they would force you to kill someone, but not actively? Man, how could you kill someone without a Maisa? Kigon Shemashlichin Oso Al Atina. So it means they give him two choices. If he resists, they'll kill him. If he doesn't resist, then all he has to do is stand there like a dumbbell, passively, and they'll take his body and use his body as a weight to kill a baby. That's called Mashlichon Salatinok V'Nismayach. Says Tosfos Misvara Eino Chayav Limsar Atzmo. He doesn't have to refuse and give up his life. Why? Demotzi Omar Adarabba my chaz is the domet echarich sumachtvei domet di sumachtvei. We don't know which blood is redder than the other. So it's very interesting that in Ritzicha, there's no difference between. I'm sorry. In Ritzicha, there's a fundamental difference between active Ritzicha and passive, and being passive. So Tosfos understood that as far as Gili Arayas, for sure, absolutely certain that Karka Olam would be a mitigating circumstance. There would be no chiyuv of Kiddush Hashem v'Yehareg Val Yavra in the case of Gili Arayas, because it would be the same as Ritzicha, because Gili Arayas is derived from Ritzicha. And Ritzicha, there is that distinction. But the Rambam doesn't make that distinction. And therefore we derive from the Rambam that even in the case of passive, there's Yehareg Val Yavra. Tivachol Gavne Yehareg Val Yavra. So now we have a problem because Tosfos has a very cogent argument. How can you tell me that, according to the Rambam, Gili Arayas means even in a case of Karka Olam, you have to give up your life, where do we know Gila Arayis from? We only know it from Ritzicha. And in Ritzicha, there's a clear-cut distinction between active Ritzicha, Memaisa B'Yadayim, as opposed to Karka Olam. Like if they tell you, we're going to throw you onto the baby. So apparently there are Rishonim who go on record as saying that Gili Arayis applies, Yehor Vel Yavra applies even in the case of Karka Olam. Ayin Sham, the Sfirle. So then you'll ask her why was Esther allowed to have a relationship with Achashverosh? The Sfirle de Esther lo havi Gili Arayis. I don't understand why he doesn't quote Rava here. Rava says that Esther's Hanos Asma shining. So we don't know that Karka Olam would be a mitigating circumstance according to Rava. He's saying that there is no Gili Arayis in the case of Esther, and that's why the Gemara didn't ask from Gili Arayis. And therefore, Karka Olam is only a mitigating circumstance as far as Shara Veris B'far Hesya. Kein Zeus Shesosam Arambam, Dev Arayis Mia B'chol Gavni Tehar Gal Tava. Rambam de Arayis Mia Bechol Gavni Tehar Gal Tava. El Ditzarch Iun Harei Tosel Chichu Mirotzeach Tehechad Avishevi Altase Eina Mechuyev Limsar Atzma Veloma Posak de Bechol Gavni Tehar Gal Tava. Tos's argument is very convincing, very cogent. Gili Arayis in Yehor Vayavra is a derivative of Rotzeach. In a Rotzeach, we have to differentiate between Kum Vasei and Shevi Altase, or Kum Vasei and Karka Olam. Because the whole business of Rotzeach is my chazis. And in the case where he's passive, then he's not violating the principle of my chazis. So Mirza Hashem, V'li Neder, we'll pick this up tomorrow. Try to figure out how Reb Chaim is going to answer up Tos's kasha from Gili Arayis derived from Otzeach as far as Karka Olam, if the Rambam holds that even in the case of Karka Olam, she has to give up her life. Okay then? So that will be our goal. So see if we can get a hold of Reb Chaim.